Now, who is this guy, Agur? That's what we want to look at today. And welcome to Bride Arrays. We're in Proverbs chapter 30 this week. Today we're going to look at verse 1. And verse 1 says, "The words of Agur, son of Jacob, the oracle, the man declares, I am weary, O God, I am weary, O God, and worn out." So who's this guy, Agur? We've been looking at the beginning of Proverbs, which is all attributed to Solomon. Now, who's Agur? This chapter appears to be written by a different author. Agur the word means collector or harvester. So the question is, was he a field worker, a harvester? Was he a collector of wisdom? Was he the one who collected the wisdom for this book? Was he the one that compiled all this? We don't really know. There is no reference to Agur anywhere else in the Bible, and so we don't really know where this guy came from. All of it's speculation. We can provide speculation. I'm sure some of you will. But it's all of it's speculation. So we can't really say for certain who this man is. Some people say that maybe Agur is just another word for Solomon, another name for Solomon, because he's the collector of wisdom, and so maybe that's why he's been given this name. But then he's not really the son of Jacob, so I don't know. That doesn't even make Jacob into another just name for him. But that's where some people go. Well, it's all speculation. So we don't need to go into that very much. You can if you want. You can have your opinion as to who Agur is, but we don't know for certain. So we'll leave it at that. Now, the next word after Agur's name is hammassa, which could be the man of Massa. Massa was outside of Palestine. So the question is, was he not an Israelite, or was he in a Jewish colony outside of Palestine? Because there were some of those at the time where some Jews had actually left the Promised Land and were living outside the Promised Land in certain colonies. So is that what we're talking about here? Is this guy from outside of actual Palestine? Who knows? This is often rendered as an utterance or an oracle or an instruction. That's often what we find here. And so if you look at other places, because in my notes, I'm reading from the ESV, that ESV has in there, or Jacob, the man of Massa. So is that where he's from, or is it just, this is just talking about an utterance, an oracle? So in other places, that's what we find where it says the oracle in English. It's the word hammassa, and is rendered in different ways. So is this man from Hammassa? Could be. Does that really impact what we're talking about? No, it's just kind of an interesting thing to talk about. Could he be from? There's in some commentaries have a whole explanation that he's from a different. Maybe he is an Israelite, but he's in a colony outside of Canaan, and so he's living outside of the Promised Land, but he's collecting and wondering about God and stuff like that. So it's an interesting thing to think about. But again, we don't really know because it's all speculation, because we don't have any definitive, and it's not in Scripture. So even if we found some other stuff, it still is not Scripture, and so we can have to take that with a grain of salt. Now, let's look at the next phrase, because it continues on. It says, the man, this is the beginning of the oracle. The man declares, I am weary, O God, I am weary, O God, and worn out. That's a weird, interesting phrase, because there's debate over what exactly it's saying here. Because if you read it in English, literally, it would say, declared the man to Ithiel, and Ucal. Now, that would change what you're talking about here, because is Ithiel, where it says I am weary, O God, I am weary, O God, is that a proper name? And worn out is Ucal. Is that a proper name too? Because they could be, and that's been a debate over the centuries. Is he talking to Ithiel, and Ucal? Are these his students that he's talking to? Is this someone he's writing to, his sons, like Solomon was doing? Does he have two sons named Ithiel, or is he just repeating that because he really wants Ithiel to understand? those are all ideas. So Ithiel literally means God with me, which is like Immanuel, which means God with us. And in other contexts, Ithiel, it is, I have wearied myself, oh God. So it's, oh God, oh God, God with us, God, God with me, God with me. And it's the idea of expressing like exhaustion, of weariness, that kind of thing. So it is an interesting phrase because it literally means God with us, just like Immanuel means God with me, or God with us. Ithiel means God with me. It's a personal idea, where Immanuel is God with us, as in a plural idea. So that it's interesting. And then you get to Ucal, can mean consumed, devoured, or worn out. And that's where you kind of get this idea. You put it back into it. When you're combining Ucal with Ithiel, then you get the idea that I am weary, O God, because I am worn out, or I'm exhausted, or everything I have has been consumed. I'm spent. So there's obviously a lot of interpretations on this passage. What is this meaning? What's going on here? But if we take it not literally, as the interpreters here have done, as the translators have done, they've interpreted for us and put in there, I am weary, O God. If this is the case, then the gist of the passage seems to be that Agur has worn himself out with trying to gain wisdom or to figure out God. And this really fits the context of what the next several verses are. So come back next time and we'll check that out.